Welcome to my channel Starwire Daily. Please share and subscribe and press the bell icon for new updates. London, 1888. The fog rolls thick through cobblestone streets, and somewhere in the shadows, Jack the Ripper stalks his next victim. Now, imagine Johnny Depp, not as Captain Jack Sparrow, not as the Mad Hatter, but as Inspector Abberline, a tormented detective chasing one of history's most notorious serial killers through the darkest corners of Victorian England. This is From Hell, and if you've never heard of it, you're not alone. This criminally underrated masterpiece has been hiding in the shadows for over 2 decades, but now it's finally stepping back into the spotlight on streaming platforms. And let me tell you, the timing couldn't be more perfect. Released in 2001, From Hell arrived at a fascinating crossroads in Johnny Depp's career. This was Depp before he became the eccentric, larger-than-life character we know today. This was an actor still hungry to prove himself, willing to dive headfirst into the gruesome world of Jack the Ripper without any safety net. And the result? Pure cinematic gold that Hollywood somehow forgot about. But here's what makes this story truly captivating. From Hell wasn't just another horror movie trying to cash in on Jack the Ripper's infamy. This was an ambitious adaptation of Alan Moore's legendary graphic novel, the same creative genius behind Watchmen and V for Vendetta. We're talking about source material so rich, so meticulously researched, that it reads more like a historical dissertation than a comic book. The Hughes brothers, Alan and Albert, were tasked with bringing this literary masterpiece to life. These weren't your typical Hollywood directors. They'd already proven their artistic credibility with Menace to Society and Dead Presidents. They understood gritty storytelling, they understood character development, and they understood that From Hell needed to be something special. Let's talk about the casting for a moment, because this is where things get really interesting. Johnny Depp as Inspector Abberline was controversial. The real Frederick Abberline was a middle-aged, by-the-books Victorian policeman. Depp? He was Hollywood's brooding heartthrob with cheekbones that could cut glass. Critics questioned the choice. Fans were skeptical. But Depp? He saw something deeper in this character. In interviews from that time, Depp revealed that he based his portrayal partly on Robbie Coltrane's performance in a 1988 television series about Jack the Ripper. But he added his own psychological layers. The opium addiction, the psychic visions, the tortured soul wrestling with forces beyond his comprehension. This wasn't just detective work. This was a man literally haunted by the crimes he was investigating. And then there's Heather Graham as Mary Kelly, the heart of this dark tale. Graham was coming off Boogie Nights and Austin Powers, known more for her California girl charm than her dramatic chops. But in From Hell, she transformed herself into a vulnerable, complex woman trapped in the hellish world of Victorian prostitution. The chemistry between Depp and Graham crackled with an intensity that caught everyone off guard. But let's pause for a moment and talk about what was happening behind the cameras, because that's where the real drama unfolded. The production of From Hell was nothing short of a nightmare. We're talking about a $35 million budget, substantial for 2001. But the Hughes brothers had ambitious visions that constantly pushed against studio limitations. They wanted to film in Prague to capture that authentic Victorian Gothic atmosphere. They insisted on practical effects wherever possible. They demanded complete creative control over the final cut. 20th Century Fox was nervous. This wasn't your typical slasher film. This was art house horror with mainstream ambitions, and studios hate uncertainty. There were reports of tension on set, creative disagreements, and concerns about the film's dark, uncompromising tone. Would audiences accept Johnny Depp in such a dramatically different role? Would the graphic violence alienate mainstream viewers? The answer came on October 19, 2001, when From Hell hit theaters. And here's where the story takes a heartbreaking turn. The film opened to a disappointing $11 million weekend. Critics were divided. Some praised its visual artistry and Depp's committed performance, while others felt it was too slow, too dark, too different for what audiences expected. Roger Ebert gave it 3 stars, calling it atmospheric and interesting, but many mainstream critics seemed to miss the point entirely. What they didn't understand was that From Hell wasn't trying to be Scream or I Know What You Did Last Summer. This was psychological horror in the truest sense, a meditation on violence, power, and corruption that happened to be wrapped in a Jack the Ripper narrative. The film was asking uncomfortable questions about society, about the treatment of women, about the conspiracy of silence that allows evil to flourish. Depp's performance was revelatory for those who truly watched. Gone were his usual quirky mannerisms. Instead, we got a man consumed by his own demons, literally seeing visions of future murders while battling an opium addiction that was both his curse and his only escape from the horrors of his reality. Every line was delivered with quiet intensity. Every glance carried weight. This was acting, not movie star charisma. The visual design deserves special mention here. The Hughes brothers and their production team created a London so authentic, so immersive, that you could almost smell the fog and feel the dampness seeping through your clothes. The costume design by Kim Barrett, who would later work on the Matrix sequels, was period perfect without ever feeling like a museum exhibit. These characters lived in their clothes, worked in them, suffered in them. And the murders, God, the murders were unlike anything audiences had seen before. Not gratuitous, not exploitative, but genuinely disturbing in their clinical precision. The film treated each victim as a human being, not just a plot device. When Marion Nichols meets her fate in that darkened alley, we feel the loss of a life, not just the advancement of a story. But perhaps the most brilliant aspect of From Hell was its conspiracy theory approach to the Jack the Ripper case. Rather than presenting him as a random madman, the film suggests a much more sinister truth, that these murders were orchestrated by powerful men to protect royal secrets. It's a theory that adds layers of political intrigue and social commentary that most horror films wouldn't dare attempt. The royal conspiracy angle wasn't just sensationalism. Alan Moore had researched extensively, drawing from real historical theories and documented evidence. The idea that Jack the Ripper might have been connected to the royal family, that these murders might have been cover-ups rather than random killings, adds a chilling plausibility to the narrative. Ian Holmes' performance as Sir William Gull deserves recognition here. Holmes, fresh off his Oscar nomination for The Fellowship of the Ring, brought gravitas and intelligence to what could have been a cartoonish villain role. His Gull isn't a cackling madman. He's a brilliant surgeon who genuinely believes his actions serve a higher purpose. It's terrifying precisely because it's so rational, so calculated. The supporting cast filled out this world beautifully. Robbie Coltrane as Sergeant Godley provided the perfect foil to Depp's intuitive Abberline. Jason Fleming brought working-class authenticity to his role as Netley, the coachman caught up in forces beyond his understanding. Every performance felt lived in, real, grounded in the harsh realities of Victorian London. Now, here's what makes the film's initial failure so frustrating. From Hell was ahead of its time. In 2001, audiences weren't ready for prestige horror. They wanted clear-cut scares, obvious villains, and happy endings. From Hell offered none of those things. Instead, it presented a complex, morally ambiguous world where the real monsters wore expensive clothes and held positions of power. The film's themes about the systematic oppression of women, the corruption of institutions, and the way society discards its most vulnerable members feel remarkably contemporary today. This wasn't just a period piece, it was social commentary disguised as historical horror. But something beautiful happened in the years following its theatrical release. DVD sales told a different story. Home video allowed viewers to appreciate the film's intricate details, to pause and absorb the rich visual storytelling, to discuss and debate its complex themes. From Hell began developing the cult following it deserved. Film students discovered it in their studies of adaptation and visual narrative. Horror fans found it through word-of-mouth recommendations. Critics began reassessing their initial reviews, recognizing the artistic ambition they'd initially overlooked. The film that had been dismissed as a commercial failure was slowly being recognized as an artistic success. Johnny Depp himself has spoken fondly of the experience in later interviews. He's mentioned that From Hell represents one of his favorite collaborations, a project where he felt truly challenged as an actor. The role of Inspector Abberline forced him to dig deep, to find emotional truth in a character battling both external evil and internal demons. The film's influence can be seen in later projects. The success of prestige horror series like True Detective and Mindhunter owes a debt to From Hell's psychological approach to investigating serial crimes. The atmospheric world-building influenced everything from The Alienist to Ripper Street. Even Marvel's recent darker projects seem to echo the film's sophisticated approach to violence and moral complexity. And now, in 2025, streaming platforms have finally recognized what cult film enthusiasts have known for years. From Hell is a masterpiece that deserves rediscovery. Its availability on major streaming services means a whole new generation can experience this overlooked gem without the burden of theatrical expectations or critical preconceptions. What's particularly exciting is how relevant the film feels today. In an era of true crime podcasts and documentary series, audiences have developed a more sophisticated appreciation for complex criminal narratives. We're no longer satisfied with simple explanations for horrific acts. We want to understand the systems and circumstances that allow evil to flourish. From Hell anticipated this cultural shift by over 2 decades. The film's exploration of media manipulation also feels remarkably contemporary. The way newspapers in Victorian London sensationalized the Ripper murders, creating public hysteria while potentially protecting the real perpetrators, mirrors our current concerns about information warfare and media complicity in covering up inconvenient truths. For Johnny Depp fans specifically, From Hell offers something unique in his filmography, a chance to see the actor completely disappear into a role. No quirky accents, no elaborate costumes, no larger-than-life personality. Just pure, committed character work from an actor at the height of his powers. It's a reminder of why Hollywood fell in love with Depp in the first place, before the tabloid headlines and legal battles overshadowed his artistic achievements. The technical craftsmanship holds up beautifully as well. The cinematography by Peter Deming creates a visual language that's both beautiful and disturbing. The production design transports you completely to Victorian London without ever feeling like a theme park version of history. The score by Trevor Jones builds tension subtly, never overwhelming the psychological horror with obvious musical cues. What streaming platforms offer that theatrical releases couldn't is the ability to appreciate these details at your own pace. You can pause to absorb a particularly stunning shot, rewind to catch a subtle performance moment, or discuss complex plot points with fellow viewers online. From Hell is the kind of film that benefits from this more intimate viewing experience. But beyond the technical merits and historical significance, From Hell succeeds because it respects its audience's intelligence. It doesn't explain every plot point or spell out every thematic element. It trusts viewers to engage with complex ideas about power, corruption, and the price of seeking truth in a world that profits from lies. The film's depiction of Inspector Abberline's psychic visions could have easily become ridiculous in less capable hands. But Depp and the Hughes brothers ground these supernatural elements in emotional reality. The visions aren't presented as magical powers, but as the psychological manifestation of a man so deeply connected to the crimes that he begins experiencing them viscerally. It's a brilliant way to literalize the detective's intuitive process. Similarly, the relationship between Abberline and Mary Kelly could have been cliched, the hardened detective falling for the vulnerable prostitute. Instead, it becomes a meditation on 2 people finding humanity in an inhumane world. Their connection feels earned, built on mutual recognition of each other's pain rather than romantic fantasy. The film's ending, without spoiling anything, is both devastating and perfect. It doesn't offer easy closure or comfortable resolution. Instead, it acknowledges that some truths are too dangerous to reveal, that seeking justice sometimes comes at a cost too high to bear. It's an adult conclusion to an adult film, the kind of sophisticated storytelling that mainstream horror rarely attempts. As From Hell finds new life on streaming platforms. It joins the ranks of films that were initially misunderstood but have found their proper audience through persistence and word-of-mouth appreciation. Like The Shawshank Redemption or Blade Runner. It's a movie that needed time to be properly appreciated. For those discovering it for the first time, prepare yourself for something different. This isn't jump scare, horror, or gore-fest entertainment. This is psychological horror that gets under your skin and stays there, that makes you think about power structures and social injustice long after the credits roll. It's challenging, it's disturbing, and it's absolutely brilliant. For those revisiting it, you'll likely discover new layers of meaning, new details in the performances, new appreciation for the film's ambitious scope. From Hell is the rare film that actually improves with multiple viewings, revealing new depths each time you return to Victorian London's foggy streets. And for Johnny Depp fans, this represents something precious, a reminder of the actor's incredible range and commitment to his craft. Before the Pirates franchise, before the tabloid scrutiny, before the legal battles, there was this, a fearless actor willing to disappear completely into a role to serve a story rather than his own celebrity persona. The return of From Hell to streaming platforms feels like perfect timing. In our current cultural moment, when we're questioning authority, examining systemic corruption, and demanding justice for the marginalized and forgotten, this film's themes resonate more powerfully than ever. It's a horror film, yes, but it's also a call to consciousness, a reminder that the real monsters often wear respectable faces and hold positions of power. So whether you're a horror fan, a Johnny Depp enthusiast, or someone who appreciates ambitious filmmaking that takes risks, From Hell awaits your discovery or rediscovery. It's streaming now, ready to transport you to a world where seeking truth comes at the ultimate cost, where justice is complex and messy, and where sometimes the most horrifying monsters are the ones society refuses to see. Don't let this masterpiece disappear into the shadows again. From Hell has waited over 20 years for its proper recognition. Now it's finally getting the audience it always deserved. If this deep dive into forgotten cinema gems got you excited, make sure to hit that like button. It really helps us bring you more hidden treasures from Hollywood's vault. Drop a comment below and let us know what other overlooked films deserve a second chance. And if you're hungry for more insider stories about your favorite stars and the movies that define their careers, that subscribe button is waiting for you. We've got so many more secrets to uncover together, and trust me, you won't want to miss what's coming next.